Hello friends, Jai Hind. Today we start and try and understand the Russian-Ukraine war. It's been more than 100 days now, and we have to go into the nitty-gritties about the slight history of Russia-Ukraine relations, and thereafter as to reasons for the war, the importance of Ukraine for Russia, the reasons for the conflict, and the present-day status and its impact. Now, first of all, we start off with what's the importance of Ukraine for Russia. Let's see what's the importance of Ukraine for Russia. Russia and Ukraine are ethnically the same. Both of them are ethnically the same. They have originated from the Rus people, and the Rus people from Ukraine migrated to Russia and other parts of that region. And Ukraine is a breakaway republic of the USSR. As we all know that in 1991, USSR had broken down into 15 different republics, including Russia, and apart from Russia, 14 different republics. And Ukraine was the second largest after Russia, a breakaway faction or a breakaway part of the USSR. Now here one has to understand that Ukraine, the eastern part of Ukraine, if you consider Ukraine like this, the eastern part of Ukraine, that is this region, is known as the Donbas region. It consists of Donetsk and Luhansk. Luhansk is the northern portion and Donetsk is the southern portion. And this entire region is known as Donbas. So this eastern part of Ukraine, this particular region, as well as the Crimean Peninsula, which is the southeastern part of Ukraine, they are Russian speaking and Russian majority people. The ethnicity is Russian, the language there is majority Russian. And that's how these people feel closer to Russia. Russia also feels closer to the eastern part of Ukraine. Another important thing is Russia doesn't tolerate NATO coming closer to it, and Ukraine is a big country, a massive buffer state between Russia and the West. You know, after 1991 breakaway of the USSR, three of the erstwhile USSR breakaway countries, that is Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, these were known as the Baltic republics. They are small countries, they have joined NATO. And that point in time, when they joined NATO in 2004, Russia was weak and was not in a position to take a stance or to thwart the NATO expansion into these Baltic republics. Of late, Russia has started reasserting itself under Putin, although Russia is not anymore an economic power, but at the same time it's a military power. It's got more than 1,000, I believe, nuclear weapons. So we are seeing a resurgent Russia, and Ukraine is acting as a buffer between Russia and NATO, and Russia doesn't want this buffer to go away. In case Ukraine joins EU and NATO, it moves away from the Russian influence, and NATO comes right up to the doorstep of Russia, which is a danger to Russia. Russia in no case would like to tolerate this danger. If Ukraine joins NATO, that brings NATO at the doorstep of Russia, which is unacceptable to the Russian people and the Russian dispensation. Now let's go further down. We'll try and understand as to why this conflict is there. Well, as we have already discussed, Russia is no more an economic power, but it is a major military power. Russia is totally against the eastward expansion of NATO. You know, NATO, which came into being in 1949, till the breakaway of Russian republics, that is till the time the disintegration of USSR, not Russian republics but USSR republics, till the time of disintegration of USSR, they had just about 16 odd countries. Today they have got 30 countries, almost double that. 14 more have joined it since the disintegration of USSR. Not acceptable to Russia, because that tantamounts to eastward expansion of the NATO, and NATO has almost come to the doorstep of Russia. As it is, the Baltic republics, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, already a part of NATO. So NATO size has almost doubled since the disintegration of Russia in 1991, as we have seen. Earlier 16 were there, now 14 more have joined it. And how has it increased? In 1999, Czech Republic, Hungary and Poland have joined NATO. So all these three countries were a part of the erstwhile Warsaw Pact. And what was Warsaw Pact? Warsaw Pact was a pro-Russian military alliance, an opposite of NATO. Just like NATO, just the way NATO was a military alliance of the West and US and Canada, Warsaw Pact was a military alliance of the erstwhile USSR and East European countries. Czechoslovakia at that time, Hungary and Poland were a part of Warsaw Pact, and they in 1999 joined NATO. Jolt to Russia obviously. In 2004, further adding fuel to the fire, the three erstwhile parts of USSR, that is Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, these three small Baltic countries, they also joined NATO. That's how NATO came to the doorstep of northwestern USSR, northwestern Russia. Apart from that, in 2004 itself, Romania, Slovakia and Slovenia, earlier under Russian influence, joined NATO. In 2009, Albania and Croatia, just correct the spelling, this is Croatia, they joined NATO. In 2017, Montenegro joined NATO, and in 2020, North Macedonia joined NATO. Now you have to understand certain things. The Russian demand. Russia wants that NATO should go back to the 1997 status. NATO should go back to the 97 status. That means Russia doesn't want any further expansion of NATO. So 1997 status was the status when the East European countries had not joined NATO. Russia wants an assurance from West that Ukraine will be a neutral country and it will not neither join EU nor join NATO. This particular assurance the West is not ready to give. Now let's go further down. The status of ethnicity of Ukraine. Just see, have a look at this map. You see, this is Ukraine. This is Ukraine. This is Crimea, earlier part of Ukraine, but now it's a part of Russia. The area in blue or purple color, this particular area is the eastern part of Russia. This is Luhansk region and this is Donetsk region, and the entire region is known as the Donbas region. This entire region is in a Russian majority region. There are a majority of Russian speaking people here. The western part, that is the red part, is Ukrainian speaking people. So Russia feels closer to these people and these people feel closer to Russia. Now let's go further down. Another map just to give you an indication. See, this yellow region is the eastern part of Ukraine, totally Russian speaking and Russian majority. The red part shows the Ukrainian speaking and Ukrainian majority people. So the country Ukraine as it is ethnically divided or linguistically divided, ethnically as well as linguistically divided. And that is one of the main reasons for this present day strife. We go further down to understand the issue. This is a map of the 2010 elections. What does this map say? The blue portion is Russian speaking and Russian majority people, and they voted for the pro-Russian parties. And the red, yellow and orange, this is the Ukrainian majority area. The darker the color, the more Ukrainian people around. So this is the Ukrainian speaking population or pro-Ukrainian or pro-West majority area. This is the pro-East or pro-Russian or Russian majority area. That clearly defines or clarifies or explains the reasons for one of the major reasons for the present day strife. Going down further, as of now there is a dichotomy which exists. What's the dichotomy? Dichotomy is the present day dichotomy is the way the two countries, that is the US and Russia, perceives it. On the lighter side, we can say Russia is still a 19th century country. It believes in the balance of power. What is balance of power theory? It was a theory that was prevalent during the Cold War. That means militarily the then USSR and the then West or USA were balancing each other's militarily and in terms of nuclear power, in terms of military power, and because of that balance of power there were no war. This was the Cold War principle. Balance of power, Russia believes, still exists. Russia still considers itself to be a major military power and considers that balance of power has to be maintained as of now. But the West and USA, they believe that balance of power theory is redundant now since the Cold War is over, after the fall of the Berlin War or after the disintegration of Russia. Russia still, a self-respecting country, believes in balance of power. So this difference of opinion, this difference of understanding each other is what is creating the present day confusion. Let's see. So this is the dichotomy. Now what are the precipitating causes? What are the immediate causes which led to the present day war? Well, Russia and Ukraine, as we have already discussed, are same ethnicities. It's very difficult for people like us, outsiders, to distinguish between Russians and Ukrainians. Roughly similar kind of dresses, however the language is different. But those who belong to that area, they can understand the difference of language, they can understand the nuances, the cultural differences. Although original ethnicity is the same. Ukraine was a part of Russia, USSR, erstwhile USSR till 1991. That is till the disintegration of USSR. And in 1991 it became an independent country along with 14 others. That is a total of 15 breakaway fractions countries were there. That included Russia. Apart from Russia, which is the biggest country or was synonymous with the main center of power in erstwhile USSR, there were 14 other republics and Ukraine was one of them. Russia, out of the total 15 republics that broke away after disintegration of USSR, Russia was the largest and second largest was Ukraine. Now let's go further down. Let's see. As we have discussed, Russian and Ukrainian ethnicity is the same. Ukraine was part till 1991. Ukraine was a part of the 15 breakaway republics. Gradually, the people in Ukraine, once it became a democracy, the people in Ukraine started having Western aspirations. By Western aspirations, I mean is they wanted to join EU, they wanted to join NATO. Why? The people are simple. After independence of Ukraine in 24th August 1991, gradually, since from 1997 onwards, they wanted to join the NATO, they wanted to join the European Union because of better employment opportunities, better economic opportunities, a better way of life, easier way of life, and they were attracted towards the so-called liberal democratic principles. Since the inception or since the freedom of Ukraine in 1991, there have been 7 presidents till now. Out of those 7, 3 presidents are of importance. These 3 people, that's Viktor Yanukovych, Peter Poroshenko, and Vladimir Zelensky. Let's see. Now what we have to understand is Viktor Yanukovych. Viktor Yanukovych the first was elected in the year 2010 and he was democratically elected in a proper manner. Now, having been elected, Viktor Yanukovych originally was a Marxist, had pro-Russian leanings. In the year 2010 when he came, he made a major mistake. What was the major mistake? When Ukraine had become independent in the year 1991, Ukraine had given Sevastopol, a prominent naval base in Crimea, to Russia for lease. The lease expired in the year 2010. In 2010, Yanukovych extended the lease for another 25 years. And what he got in return was the Russian gas at 30% less prices. Now the people of Ukraine got cheesed off with this. They got angry at this. They thought that at the hands of cheaper gas or at the cost of cheaper gas, Yanukovych was selling their country's freedom, sovereignty. They didn't like it. Apart from that, in the same year in 2010 itself, Yanukovych amended the Ukrainian constitution article 111, that is 111 article. And by amending that article, he was planning to protract his presidency. He was planning to increase the length of his presidency. People got angry at this, presuming that he was going the Russian way and he was going the Putin's way, and he wanted to become a permanent president like Putin. His ratings fell. And in the year 2013, just to improve his ratings, he announced that they'll be joining EU, Ukraine will be joining EU. People were very happy, people believed Yanukovych. He created such a hype that people were exhilarated and happy about joining European Union. But see, suddenly in the year 2013, November, he somersaulted. I am saying that he totally changed his opinion, plans, and signed something totally different. Instead of joining EU, he joined an economic union of the headed by Russia. So that was like a somersault, and suddenly the people were drastically angry. In Euromaidan, an area which is in Kiev, lakhs of people collected. There were protests, there were street fights, and large number of people died in that. And in the year 2014, President Yanukovych, because of excessive protests, had to flee to Russia. The Ukrainian parliament announced a new president, that was Peter Poroshenko. He was pro-West. So you see, Yanukovych was pro-Russia. Peter Poroshenko, who came in 2014 after fleeing away of Yanukovych, was pro-West. He ruled from 2014 to 2019. Now, the moment Peter Poroshenko came, Russia and the East Ukrainian people, that is the Russian-speaking people, got angry. Russia invaded Crimea, captured Crimea, and there were riots or anti-West protests in the eastern part of Ukraine, that is the Russian-speaking people. In 2019, Vladimir Zelensky came, and Zelensky is the president till date. So we've already discussed that in 2013 Ukraine wanted to join EU. Before that, one important thing happened. It is not 2013, it is 2008. Bucharest Declaration was announced by NATO. So what was the Bucharest Declaration? Let's see. Bucharest Declaration was basically an announcement by NATO which said, it was in the year 2008, and in which NATO said that NATO welcomes the aspirations of Ukraine and Georgia to join NATO and EU. And that was a trigger point, that was a point which angered Russia like anything. Russia invaded Georgia and broke Georgia into pieces. It created pressure on Ukraine, but that time didn't invade Ukraine per se. So that was Bucharest Declaration was one of the major things which angered Russia. Now going down further, this is the NATO expansion we can see. Just a map for your information. Going down, see here how NATO is. This is Russia, the largest republic after the breakaway of. This is the map of erstwhile USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Up till here, up to this place is Russia. You can see this is Russia, the largest part. Then there were Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Albania, Belarus, Moldova, Ukraine, Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Tajikistan. All these things, all these republics were a part of the USSR. After 1991, when USSR disintegrated, these 15 republics were created. Russia obviously the largest one, Ukraine the second largest one. Then as we have already enumerated all of these 15 republics were created. Now going down further, see this, after disintegration what happened? Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Belarus, Ukraine, Moldova, Georgia, Armenia, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, all these broke away. Another interesting thing, these people, you see, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, in 2004 they have joined NATO. Belarus is still with Russia. Ukraine is trying to join NATO. Georgia wanted to join NATO in 2008, but Russia wrecked it and broke it into pieces. And these Central Asian republics, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, they are still with Russia. They are not into the ball game of joining NATO. So that is what has cheesed off Russia. Let's go down further. See, this is Russia. This is Russia. This is the Baltic Sea. And these Baltic republics, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, they have already joined NATO. These two countries are touching Russia. NATO is at the doorstep of Russia and Russia was angry with that. But that time being weak, in 2004 they joined. That time being weak, Russia couldn't do much. But now Russia is reasserting itself. Let's go down. See, these were the three Baltic republics which joined NATO. They were an inalienable part of USSR earlier. They were a part of USSR. And these are the Balkan countries. Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, Serbia, Kosovo, Montenegro, Albania, North Macedonia, Greece, Bulgaria, Romania. Large number of them. All those highlighted in blue have joined NATO. There is a difference between Baltic countries and Balkan countries. Baltic countries are that are along the Baltic Sea. Whereas Balkan countries are erstwhile Yugoslavia and on the Balkan mountains. Going down further, see here, this is an example of NATO expansion. NATO came into being in 1949. Belgium, Denmark, France, Iceland, Italy, Canada, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, United Kingdom, United States, Greece, Turkey, Germany, Spain. So all these countries, and these countries were a total of 16 countries. From here to here you can count them. I think there must be around 16 countries. They were a part of NATO till the breakup of USSR. After the breakup of USSR, the first expansion was in 1999, wherein Poland, Czechoslovakia and Hungary, these were three Warsaw Pact countries which joined NATO. Russia was angry, but that time being weak, couldn't do much. Then from 2004 to 2009, Bulgaria, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, oh my god, 2004 were an inalienable part of Russia, USSR earlier, now joined NATO. Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Albania, Croatia, all these also joined NATO. These countries were the Balkan countries. And to top it all, 2017 Montenegro and 2020 North Macedonia also joined NATO. So initially 16, later on 14 more, a total of 30 countries became part of NATO. And obviously they were knocking at the doors of Russia. That angered the mighty military empire of Russia. Let's go down further. This is another list. When did which country, after the breakup of USSR, join NATO? Czech Republic in 1999, Hungary in 1999, Poland 1999, Bulgaria 2004, Estonia 2004, Latvia 2004, Lithuania 2004, Romania 2004, Slovakia 2004, Slovenia 2004, Albania 2009, Croatia 2009, Montenegro 2017, and latest was Macedonia in 2020. So there were major expansions in 1999, there were expansions in 2004, then there were expansions in 2009, and finally 17 and 20. Just for your information, we go down further. Just to explain you further with the help of a map, see, this is Russia, this is Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, earlier a part of inalienable part of USSR or a part of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic. In 2004 They joined NATO. Belarus is still with Russia. Still with Russia means it's an independent country but is pro-Russia. Poland, Czech Republic, Hungary. In 1999, these were erstwhile Warsaw Pact countries and they joined NATO. In 2004 itself, Romania, Bulgaria had joined NATO. And later on, Croatia, Albania, or Macedonia, these countries also joined NATO. And see, Ukraine was trying to join NATO, but Russia has hampered Ukraine's plans by attacking it. Georgia in 2008 tried, but Russia wrecked it. So Russia doesn't want to lose this big a buffer state between itself and the NATO countries. This is the borderline of the NATO countries, you can see. Now going down a bit. Further again, just for better clearance, better clarification. See, this is the Black Sea. This is Crimea. Russia has already annexed it in 2014 March. Russia wants to secure Black Sea. It's an important sea because this is a warm water sea. The northern ports of Russia get frozen during winters and are unusable. Russia doesn't want to lose this access. This access, Russia does not want to lose for getting into the Mediterranean Sea and further down. And this part of Ukraine as it is majority Russian speaking. So as of now, Russia has almost in a way captured these portions. This is the Donbass region. Crimea already in 2014 it has captured. And it has declared the Luhansk and Donetsk region, that is the Donbass, two parts of Donbass region, as independent republics. So Russia is trying to teach a lesson to Ukraine and wants to continue destabilizing Ukraine so that it cannot join EU or NATO. That's the main aim of Russia. Let's go down further. As we have already discussed that the Ukraine's EU and NATO aspirations and the Bucharest Declaration of the year 2008 had angered Russia. 2008, Viktor Yanukovych had become the president. His popularity fell due to pro-Russian stance and corruption charges also. So to improve, he had created two major wrong decisions he had taken. One of the wrong decisions was to further lease out Sevastopol for another 25 years. Sevastopol is an important Crimean port. It was again leased out for 25 more years from 2010 onwards to the Russian Navy or Russian forces, which the people got angry with. Viktor Yanukovych wanted to increase his own tenure by amending Article 111 of the Ukrainian constitution, and there were corruption charges against him. So his reputation fell, his ratings fell. To improve his ratings, he created a hype that Ukraine would join NATO and EU. People were very happy. People thought that Yanukovych is the best person. But in 2013, in heart of hearts, Yanukovych was pro-Russia. In 2013, he took a U-turn. He joined the Russian economic bloc and rejected the NATO proposal. Or EU proposal, sorry. And that is what angered the people. And what started was something known as Euromaidan. Maidan is a word I think that has come from Central Asia. Euromaidan protests. Maidan means a large ground. We all know it in Hindi and Urdu. So Euromaidan protests started. What were Euromaidan protests? Let's see. People were angered with Yanukovych's decisions. They started protesting in a large ground in Kyiv. Lakhs of people collected there. Street riots started. Almost 100 people were killed in those riots. How many? Almost 100 people were killed in those riots. Yanukovych fled to Russia. Being scared, fled to Russia. Now the Parliament of Ukraine they declared Peter Poroshenko as the new president because Yanukovych had fled. Peter Poroshenko was pro-West. Now the moment Peter Poroshenko came and pro-West government came into Russia, the Russian forces were already there in Crimea. At the same time, 2014, pro-Russian protests started in Donbass and Crimea. Donbass is the region consisting of Luhansk and Donetsk, the eastern part of Ukraine, and Crimea is the southeastern peninsula or island state of Ukraine. So Crimea was captured by Russia. Russia didn't have to do much because Russian military was already there. They just started controlling the checkpoints, and it was very easy for the Russian military to control Crimea. So 2014, Russia annexed Crimea, and to show it to the world, they carried out a referendum in which a majority of the people, being Russian speaking, they voted in favor of Russia. So Russia justified, look, we have captured Crimea because people are pro-Russia, people want to be a part of Russia, and simultaneously the Russian soldiers with face masks, having removed the insignia, they joined the rebels in the eastern part of Ukraine, that is Donbass region, and pro-Russia and anti-West protests started in the eastern part of Ukraine also, just to quell or to quench or to make this particular protest subside. With the intervention of Germany and France, 2 agreements were signed. The names of these 2 agreements were 2014 Minsk I and 2015 Minsk II. Minsk is the capital of Belarus. Agreements were signed there. In the agreements, it was mainly agreed that Russia would remove the heavy weapons, and thereafter elections would be carried out in the eastern part of Ukraine, that is Donbass region, and as per the results of the elections, a decision would be taken about giving them autonomy. But somehow both these treaties failed. Why did they fail? Because Ukraine wanted that the Russia should remove its heavy weapons and army first, and thereafter elections would be held. Russia said nothing doing. You first hold the elections, give autonomy to these regions, and thereafter we'll remove our defense forces. So they couldn't agree on the common points, and thereafter these 2 agreements failed. Now see, these 2 agreements having failed, let's see what happened further. In 2019, Vladimir Zelensky, he became the president of Ukraine, and initially he was in a mood to make amends with Russia. He said, we'll try and follow the Steinmeier formula. What was the Steinmeier formula? Since these 2 agreements, that is Minsk I and Minsk II, had failed, Steinmeier, the finance minister of Germany, had given a formula. He said, look, what can be done is hold elections in the eastern part of Ukraine, that is the Donetsk region, and give them autonomy or freedom as per the decision of the election results. And Russia in turn would remove its forces first. However, again the Steinmeier formula also failed because Russia failed or hesitated or didn't remove its forces, and thus Ukraine couldn't carry out any elections, etc. Ukraine was not ready to carry out elections before Russia removed its forces from there. So this is how the Minsk I, Minsk II and Steinmeier formula all failed. Russia continued building pressure against Ukraine border and amassed around more than 1 lakh troops, 1.5 lakh troops, and mainly on the Belarus border. Belarus was pro-Russia, and Russia moved its forces into Belarus also and eastern part of Ukraine also. Russia wanted assurance from Ukraine that it will not join NATO nor will it join EU, and it will stay as a buffer state. As we have already discussed, Minsk I II failed, Russia continued pressure. Russia wanted that Ukraine should not join NATO, EU, but Ukraine was unwilling. None thought that Russia would ever attack Ukraine, and on 24th February 2022, Russia attacked Ukraine. This was a major turning point. Now let's do some analysis. People may say that Russia, the Russian president Putin has got ambitions to make greater USSR again or something like USSR again. No, it's not so. Firstly, the West is only giving lip service to Ukraine, although it is supplying arms, etc. today, but it's not committed its troops to ground. Not only that, let's say they are not able to commit troops to the ground, it's mainly giving it lip service. Had West wanted, it would have by now made Ukraine a part of EU. They are skeptic, they are scared that in case Ukraine becomes a part of the EU, the people are simple people. Ukrainians will start migrating towards the West in search of better opportunity and greener pastures and better jobs. What will happen? The economy of West would be affected. So they never in their heart of hearts wanted Ukraine to join EU. Secondly, they can't make Ukraine a part of NATO so long as Russia is keeping Ukraine unstable. The Russian forces are already in eastern part of Ukraine fighting. So the moment they make it a part of NATO, they make Ukraine a part of NATO, they have to commit their forces and there will be a war, rather maybe a world war between the two major superpowers, the major military superpowers rather, which the US never wants to risk. So in their heart of hearts, the West was a little unwilling and they deliberately dilly-dallied. Their main aim today is to make Ukraine or convert Ukraine into Afghanistan and bleed Russia's economy. That's the main aim which they are trying to achieve. And poor Ukrainians in a way are a scapegoat of this policy. Now see what is Russia's aim. Russia doesn't want to conquer Ukraine. You know, Putin is a very smart man. He has learned his lessons from Afghanistan and other countries of the world. He knows that unless the people support you, you cannot conquer a country. Russia only wants autonomy in the Donbas region, which is Russian speaking and pro-Russia. It also wants Ukraine to refrain from joining NATO and EU and to continue acting as a buffer state. Russia doesn't want NATO to come to its doorsteps. President Putin has many times said that imagining a world without Russia is not correct. That means NATO should not come to our doorsteps and threaten our security and existence. In case our existence is threatened, we may use nuclear weapons also. If Ukraine doesn't come to terms with Russia, aim of Russia is to wreck the country, to break Ukraine. And as it is, Crimea is already with Russia. It wants already cleared the Donbas, two regions of Donbas, that is Luhansk and Donetsk, as independent Republic of Luhansk and Republic of Donetsk. So this is, as of now, and the present status is the eastern part of Ukraine is 90%, that is the Donbas region is almost 90% under Russia. Crimea is already a part of Russia. And Russia just want to secure the eastern portions of Ukraine, thereby ensuring small republics in between as buffer and ensuring its access to the Black Sea and further to the warmer seas down southwest. This was broadly the Russia-Ukraine war. I have already explained the economic impact of this thing in one of my earlier videos, wherein it was clearly mentioned how they are the food bowl of the world. The wheat has become costlier, the sunflower oil and other edible oils have become costlier, the rare earth metals have become costlier, even the diamond trade of India is affected. Apart from that, the inflation has risen because of that. The oil has become, that is crude oil, has become costlier. Gas has become costlier. The West is suffering a major energy crisis. You see, this is Nord Stream 1 and 2. They both have been blocked or they have been discontinued as of now by the Western sanctions. West has put in large number of sanctions on Russia. Under Katsa, it has removed Russia from SWIFT, and it is planning to distance itself away from Russian energy, which is very difficult because Germany is largely dependent on Russian gas, and even West is dependent on Russian gas. So Russia as an alternative has started directly trading with India also to some extent. It has started accepting foreign exchange in terms of ruble. That is how Russia is trying to counter it. And these economic impact I have covered in a separate video. This was broadly about the Russia-Ukraine war. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.